Welcome to 2020 and welcome back to Season 2 of the 99% Local Podcast. A few days ago, a friend of mine asked me where I see myself in the new year. I said, well, how would I know? I don't have 2020 vision. Okay, my New Year's resolution is really to be more optimistic by keeping my cup half full with either rum, vodka, or whiskey. Okay, in all seriousness, may all of your troubles last as long as your New Year's resolutions. Enough of the lame jokes. Let's get down to business. To find out anything and everything about this podcast, you can visit the website at 99percentlocalpod.com or hit me up on Instagram at 99percentlocalpod. If you love what I'm doing, I'd like to encourage you to do two things. The first is leave a review of the show wherever you listen to this podcast. The second is considering contributing to the podcast either monetarily or by purchasing a t-shirt or sticker. You can do that at 99percentlocalpod.com/contribute. One last thing, I just wanted to give a shout out to AJ Nashville, otherwise known as Alex Jimenez. He has been so gracious to let me borrow his podcast studio to record the interview you're about to hear. Alex specifically helps veterans navigate through the process of purchasing a home. He's actually a certified military mortgage boot camp instructor for the state of Tennessee. He's a podcaster with a message of success in overcoming hardship, and is a car and gun junkie. You can find anything and everything about AJ Nashville at ajnashville.com or on social media at AJ Nashville. Now onto the show. My first guest of 2020 is Sarah Kennedy, the artistic director of Midsouth Youth Theatre Arts, which is based in South Williamson County. As I came to find out, the artistic director role comes with many hats. Sarah is someone who has a passion working with youth and spreading the love of arts through the surrounding youth community. Midsouth Youth Theatre is dedicated to helping children to explore creativity through free or highly affordable shows, classes, and other theatrical events. With that said, the theater company is not a for-profit organization and relies on generous donors and local businesses to keep things running. If you'd like to support Midsouth Youth Theatre and Arts, please consider becoming a partner or a sponsor in 2020. You can find out more about that on their website at Midsouth Youth Theatre, that's theater with TRE.org/support. If you can't remember that URL, it'll be included in the show notes. Okay, just a couple things before we get on to the discussion. First, this Saturday, January 11th, yes, this Saturday, Midsouth Youth Theatre and Arts are hosting auditions for their upcoming production of The Little Mermaid. This show is open to both youth, ages 12 and up, and adults. Those auditions are taking place from 1:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Spring Hill Library in Spring Hill, Tennessee. For more info, see their Facebook page. Secondly, since recording our discussion, Sarah has now secured and signed a lease for a more permanent rehearsal and classroom space, which is a huge win for the group. Sarah will talk about some of the pitfalls and challenges they were having in that area with their past spaces. On to the show. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Sarah Kennedy, Artistic Director of Midsouth Youth Theatre and Arts. Let's start with this. Can you define what your role is in one sentence?
My role in one sentence? Well, my staff would probably say I'm like Willy Wonka. I am the maker of magic and the dreamer of dreams. I do everything from conceptualize what our program should be doing in terms of outreach to cleaning the bathrooms. There is not anything that I am not responsible for getting done.
So your official title with Midsouth Youth Theatre, though, is Artistic Director.
Artistic Director. So I set the vision for our programs and the quality of arts training that we want to be able to bring to our students, and unofficially the direction of the show that the shows go in.
Okay, and so the Midsouth Youth Theatre is a community theater company in Spring Hill, Tennessee,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit first. We're going to talk a lot more about that, but let's talk about your background. So are you originally from Tennessee, in this area?
My family moved here with General Motors in the early 90s when I was in elementary school, and I grew up in Columbia, attended Columbia Academy, where there was no theater or arts programming there. So as a kid, I did a lot of different activities, sports, mostly cheerleading and gymnastics. And while I had things I was good at, I never had anything that just really clicked, like this is the place that I belong, until I went to college at Lipscomb University and went to an audition for extra credit for a class, and I was placed in an improv troupe. And so my first real performance was to the entire university chapel, and my role in the skit that we were doing was someone was supposed to trip me and fall on my face, and that was literally my first moment on stage was in front of like 10,000 people laughing at me because I had just fallen on my face. But even like in that moment, it just clicked in my brain like, this is it. This is the thing that I want to be doing. So after that, I started getting involved in theater at school and community theater, and have just kept trucking along ever since, doing whatever it takes to make sure I can participate in it. And in that process, I met so many kids that either I worked with alongside as their fellow student or started to work mentoring them in other programs that I realized need this kind of outlet and need the opportunities that schools are continuing to cut arts programs and things like that. So that lack of theater and arts opportunities as a kid grew into this program and trying to make sure that everybody had some kind of access.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I'm very familiar with a lot of schools cutting out that program. It seems like it's like the first thing to go, unfortunately. But so you started doing that and performing. So what was your first job, I guess, in theater where you weren't performing, or is that something you've always done?
No, actually, my first job in theater was a position on the board at the Maury County Arts Guild when I was 21, and they had to wait to put me on the board until I was 21 because I could not hold a key to the building until I was of legal age. I was the event coordinator, so I worked on bringing in outside events and keeping the calendar, promoting things that were going on. And I found that I was fairly good at organizing what some might call a producer role, just making sure all of the technicalities were put together so that the miles of red tape that have to happen for a 3-hour rehearsal for 6 weeks that lead to a 2-hour performance, there's like 4 times as much work just in admin and contracts and insurance and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's what was keeping a lot of people from having programs that they could work. And I was like, hey, if I know how to do the paperwork, then I'm going to do that. And actually, I started a company that still exists in Franklin with a friend of mine here in Spring Hill because he knew I knew all the paperwork. So he was the artistic director and I was the managing director. And I was with that company for 5 years, still have a great working relationship with them. But they continued to drift a little further north, and my heart was really to serve the community of Spring Hill. Okay. So that's how I came to step down from my position there and start MSYT. Okay.
Are you doing other things in theater now currently, or just mainly with?
Actually, I work. You find that the artistic community is very collaborative, and I work with a group in Columbia called Watershed Public Theater. I'm their company stage manager. So while I'm not on stage there, I spend a lot of time helping directors with performances and backstage help and things like that for all of their performances. And in turn, the artists that work there are able to come and teach with my program. So between the two of us, we're able to keep a group of people local instead of having them go to Franklin or Nashville and whatnot to try to get their creative fulfillment.
Yeah. So this is kind of an open-ended question, but why is theater this important to you?
Why is it this important to me? The thing that people who have not experienced theater fail to realize is that it's everywhere in everybody's everyday life. You go into a job interview and you're presenting the person that you want your potential employer to see. That requires acting. You're in a project at work that requires creative solutions. Theater is all about being able to collaborate and heavy emphasis on teamwork. You cannot get anywhere in theater without teamwork. And outside of the box solutions, things like that. And without theater, most people think theater is just what people do on stage. It's not. It is what people do on stage, but it's the vocal training that you get that you hear people on the radio able to do podcasts like this. It's the technical skills that people have that light special events that are leading worship teams in churches, the lighting and effects that you see there, that are running conventions, that are doing television. There's really not anything anywhere that isn't affected by some type of art or theater.
One of the things I wanted to ask you was about, you mentioned you're artistic director. You have so many roles in being a stage manager as well. And besides the thing that happened last weekend, which we'll talk about, but so what is the greatest challenge you see in, putting together these stage shows and just really running the whole show?
The answer is going to be the same. Any artistic director you talk to, any arts organization, it's funding.
Okay.
Arts are so underfunded. And in fact, I was at the BOMA meeting earlier this week when a group of gentlemen had put together a very nice presentation about the possibility of building a sports complex for Spring Hill. Did a lot of work on their numbers, comparative ventures that other cities had. And I'm looking at these numbers and knowing that for a fraction of the cost, we could build an arts complex in Spring Hill that can serve everyone, not just people that are inclined towards athletics, because a lot of kids are not. A lot of adults, that's not what it is that they enjoy. Also, the arts can't be rained out. So there is that. But just people don't understand the impact of the dollar that you spend in a community on the arts is actually greater than the impact of money that comes in for sports teams. The county that houses the county seat of Cleveland, Ohio. Mm-hmm. I think it's called Cuyahoga County. 2014 census data showed that all of the minor and major sports league teams brought in economic dollars, so that's restaurants, hotel stays, things like that, just shy of $3 million. All of their arts organizations, nonprofit arts organizations, which can include things like TPAC or smaller local community theaters, had an economic impact of just shy of $8 million. So, people always think, oh yeah, let's get a sports team, it's going to bring in money. But no, it's not. It's the arts.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a lack of awareness of how hard it is to fund. And people think, oh, well, you charge $12 a ticket, so you guys are making money hand over fist. Ticket sales only cover about half of what it costs for us to put something on stage. So we rely on the generosity of local donors. We're just now getting to where we're eligible for grant writing cycles, things like that, to try to fund. But, grant money is always on the chopping block. FDR said during the economic crisis, during his presidency, somebody suggested cutting funding to the National Endowment for the Arts. And he said, if we cut art, then what are we fighting for? So, more people should realize the impact of arts in our community and the importance of supporting it, because without, you have, I hear all the time about community theaters that have been around for 50, 75 years that are closing their doors because they don't have the funding. And that's the thing that it is killing everybody right now is everyone's kind of fighting for that dollar that people are going to contribute. Yeah.
Well, let's dig in more about Midsouth Youth Theater. So how long has it actually been around?
We started in April 2017.
Okay.
We had our first show in June of that year. It was Alice in Wonderland. We had 27 kids involved in that show. And from that point in time, we just kind of have kept rolling from there. We rehearsed at the library one day a week, and I happened to have somebody come up and say, hey, if you need a stage manager, I can help you out. And I had, whenever you get people that offer their services, you have to wonder, like, oh, how much do they really know about this? How much have they learned on TV? Well, come to find out, she had been a tour manager for Sesame Street Live and Dragon Tales. So, really heavy credentials. And she's my right hand now. So shout out to Susan. She's my BFF. But every show that we do, we add somebody else that has these incredible history and skill set to our team. And all these people are here in Spring Hill and with kids and have had such a great experience in the arts, and they're looking to get them involved however we can. And I'm just like, who else is out there in Spring Hill that we don't know about? What kind of incredible artistic community do we not have active? How many people are we losing to, other regional companies because Spring Hill is struggling to create opportunities for these people to come together. So, now we just finished Willy Wonka, which was our 8th show, and we'll keep going from there. So we're actually getting ready to branch into adult performing opportunities with The Little Mermaid after the first of the year, which will be the first adult community theater that's been around for 6 or 7 years, I believe, since the old school theater had to shut down. So, we want to keep doing whatever the community asks as much as we have the opportunity to fill those roles.
Yeah, I want to dig into the shows. So let's step back. So you guys have been around officially about 2.5 years then?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
So were you there at the beginning? Were you part of getting this thing off the ground and started?
I was. It was, I hate to ever pat myself on the back. Everything is such a team effort. But it was all me. I hosted a workshop to get some interest, and I did a little musical theater workshop with my poor little 4-month-old son strapped to my chest. And from there, it just has kind of snowballed. So, from first inception, first reservations, first directing of the shows, I've been, patient zero, I guess.
So is this what you do, more about you, but is this what you do full time?
In essence, yes. I am a volunteer. So I work anywhere between 40, 60, sometimes 80 hours a week between meetings and bookings and time in the classroom, teaching for other organizations. I work some with the library, helping them with theater stuff. But as much basically as my family will let me get away without bringing in a paycheck. So, and actually for the first 2 years, I was working side jobs to try to bring money into the program. And I had to take a step back from that because it was affecting my ability to be there to do the day-to-day things because I was so busy trying to catch up on sleep from the night job that I was trying to squeeze in between running a company and taking care of my family. So.
Yeah, so it looks like you do a lot of classes and workshops as well. I was looking through Facebook. You've done some things at the library. And you mentioned you guys rehearse at the library. Is that?
We did for our first show. Okay. Unfortunately, the library is just so in demand. We have a great working relationship with them. I'm teaching a teen drama club series for them this year and helping them with some standalone projects that they need some theatrical kind of advice on. But we are very fortunate to have gotten connected with the Tennessee Children's Home, and they had a space at the back of their property that was not currently being utilized by their program. So we have been there for the last 2 years, and it's just a very rudimentary cinder block building with limited parking and one toilet and sometimes sketchy heat and air depending on the time of season. But we've been fortunate to be able to use that space for our rehearsal space, for our production teams to build sets and make costumes, and for us to store things as we accumulate stuff in between shows. Unfortunately, with the new development, that building is going to be torn down sometime after the first of the year. So we, again, are perpetually looking for rehearsal space. And the more we are out in the community, the more people hear about our mission and want to help support us. So we have a few different things going on. Hopefully we'll have our next rehearsal space lined up here within the next couple weeks. So,
hey everyone, I have something awesome to tell you about to start off 2020 right. I want to take a moment to tell you about Shipt Grocery Delivery. Shipt launched a few years ago in Birmingham, Alabama, founded on the mission of simplifying lives. Shipt serves members, shoppers, and communities by offering convenience and freedom. So here's how it works. Scroll through the aisles of your local stores like Target, Publix, CVS, in the Shipt app and create an order. The Shipt shoppers then work their magic, keeping you connected and giving live updates from the aisles. Your order is then delivered and arrives as soon as 1 hour. It really is that easy. I use Shipt all the time, and let me tell you, going to the grocery store is not one of my favorite things to do. Shipt saves time, fuel, and headspace with next hour same-day delivery. I have what I need when I need it, whether it's Monster energy drinks, ice cream, and even alcohol. Yes, Ship can now deliver your favorite adult beverages. I regularly order from my local Target and Publix, but also have options to place orders at CVS and Petco. I absolutely love it. For listeners of this podcast, I'm giving you 50% off. Yes, half off an annual membership when you sign up. That's a $49 annual membership, which is regularly $99. You can cancel at any time, but I promise you, you won't do that after you use Chip a few times. So here's what you need to do to take advantage of this offer. Head to my website, 99percentlocalpod.com/shipped. That's SHIPT. You had a show this past weekend.
Yes.
So this episode's actually going to be out in early 2020. So this was the weekend, couple weekends before Thanksgiving, right? It was
right.
the
November 15th through 17th.
of Willy Wonka. So I'll just let you explain kind of what happened.
Okay. So in the course of our journey as a theater, we have been at a couple different performing venues. There's not actually any public performing space available in Spring Hill that is like municipal, anything like Academy Park in Franklin or anything like that. So we have to encounter private entities and if their space is viable for what it is that we need to do, because typically we have 30 to 40 kids in our show, plus around 15 to 20 parents that are helping out backstage, and on average 250 to 300 audience members any given performance. So while lots of people are very willing to invite us into their facility, not every facility can accommodate what it is that we need. So when we were starting out in the summer on this journey of Willy Wonka, we reached out to the venue that we had used for 3 of our 4 shows from last season. And unfortunately, due to their own programming, they were unavailable for us. So our last-ditch venue effort has always been the facility at Northfield. It's a conference center. And going back probably about 6 years ago, I taught a summer camp in the basement of a church. And whenever I was telling the kids, okay, and this is how we're going, this is what our stage is going to be, and it just was a floor with a bareback wall, and they were like, this isn't a real theater, this isn't, and objecting to that. And so trying to keep them engaged, because we were setting out on a week's worth of classes, I brought up to them, art can happen anywhere. Just because you're on a stage that doesn't look like a normal stage doesn't mean you can't give a fantastic performance. And I was really fortunate that the week before there was a clip on YouTube that had popped up of the cast of The Lion King singing from their show on an airplane. And it just was like beautiful work that they were doing. So I played that video for the kids and I said, can you tell me that this is not art? That what these people are doing is not art just because it doesn't happen on a stage. And they said, well, no, it is art, it is theater, it is. So I was like, okay, so there you go. Art is where you make it happen. So we went into this show with that attitude of art is what it is, and we're going to make the best of a bad situation and turn a conference center into a theater, and it's going to be great. And our team worked really hard. We actually went to fairly significant expense we had to secure a stage for the kids to be on. We had to secure lighting. We had to get extra sound equipment, things in our budget that normally we would not do because the facility typically comes with that. So on Saturday, we brought everyone in, started moving everything in, and the parents saw the state of the facility, and we started hearing a little bit of concern, and our staff is like, okay, it's not ideal, but once we get the lights off and the theatrical lighting up and the kids on stage and the set there, everything's going to be fine. So we go through rehearsal on Monday and Tuesday, and I was just a little under the weather, but I started getting sicker. And several of our kids also started getting sicker. We have a pretty large number of students that are homeschooled, and some of them are homeschooled because they have some illnesses that require a little bit more maintenance. And some of those students started exhibiting signs of some kind of environmental exposure illness. And from not a member of our organization, but someone else in the community reached out and said, it's a matter of public record that there are environmental concerns out there. And at that point in time, I said, okay, well, it's 2 days before we open, but I don't want to we're going to do the best we can in a bad situation to we're going to put everyone at risk to prove a point. So one of our parents very kindly offered to go to City Hall and just find out what was on record. Yeah. So she went up on Thursday. Oh, backtrack just a little bit. Wednesday night, we had 6 kids call out of rehearsal because they were sick. They either had not gone to school or had come home from school early due to illness. So at that point in time, our parents said, well, we have to figure something out. So she went to City Hall and met with one of the senior city officials and said, hey, I just understand this is a matter of public record, and we'd like to know what is on record because we're concerned that we're bringing children in and that we'll have the general public in. And she said this was less than a 3-minute conversation. And he said, well, since you raised a concern, we're going to cancel your rental. And that was it.
Oh, wow.
Like, that was the end of the conversation. You know, this person will see you out. Here's my card if you have any further questions. So this was 11:30 on Thursday, and we were scheduled to open on Friday. My production manager and I were on our way to Nashville to pick up additional staging. So I get this call halfway up 65 and, have to turn around with a truck, and I'm pulling a trailer and try and figure out what we're going to do. Well, very fortunately, we got the word out very quickly of what was happening, and Maury County Public Schools reached out to us and said, we have a facility that we understand was not available initially to you. It is available now. Come use it. Spring Hill Middle School is your venue. Do what you got to do to change it, and we're going to work with you guys to make sure that as we are available, that we can host you for future shows so that you never have to go through this again, because we want to help the community and support the arts. So in less than 10 hours, we undid an entire week's worth of work and moved everything over there. And actually that Thursday night, we weren't able to access the school, so the kids didn't have an official final dress rehearsal. But they are such troopers. That's the thing I love so much about working with kids, is they are so resilient. Like, it doesn't matter that they're all like, disappointed that this is the space that they're in and feeling bad. They were out there in the parking lot rehearsing entire scenes of the show without the directors there. Oh, wow. Just like, we're just going to do this. We're going to get it done. And so the first time on that stage at Spring Hill Middle School was to an audience of over 200 people. They had no idea which side to go on and off of. We were having technical issues because we didn't know their system. We were still trying to figure it out, but they just got it done, and they were fantastic. It was probably one of the best shows technically that I have seen our kids do in terms of their vocal abilities and the work they did with their choreography and everything that I think our company has done. And, I'm like, would the show have been that good without this challenge that they really felt they had to meet? Would we have still gotten the support that we had? Because I heard that quite a few of our regular patrons were not planning to attend because they knew some of the issues with the facility at Northfield. So, I mean, all in all, everything worked out to our advantage. And now we just have another instance of Spring Hill, support your artists, support your kids. It's just, I mean, now I'm 3 days out from it, and I'm still just like, what just happened? What just happened?
Yeah, definitely. So you attended the board of mayor and aldermen here in Spring Hill. What was your goal or purpose for attending that?
Well, our goal really was, we just made comments. We had a lot of I think we had like 26 people show up in purple, to support our cause. And during the Concerned Citizens portion, I just made a statement that, look, we got through this and we're stronger as a theater family because of it. But, why? Why did this happen? If there was a concern, why did you rent to kids in the first place? If there wasn't, why did you cancel? Because we asked questions. We're just like, we don't want anyone else to be in the same situation that we are. But also, it's our duty to protect our kids. Like, if we're putting them in situations that are not safe because we don't know. You don't think when you go to rent a place, oh, can I see if there are any hazards or concerns I should be aware of? You just don't think about that. So, just making the city aware of, we're out here trying to do a good thing. And this is not something that any of the city programming is providing, and either support us or don't, but don't put us at risk. I mean, a lot of other companies, if Spring Hill Middle School hadn't stepped up, we would have had to have canceled the show, and that's months and thousands of dollars just completely down the drain. And I don't know financially how our company would have recovered. Right. And with our reputation, who wants to put their kids through 3 months of rehearsal and then have them not perform and take them back to that place. And it's a whole lot of, not things that are within our control, but we still have to be the ones to ask those questions. And, we're ready to move on, but we still would like some answers for us and for anyone else that uses that facility, and for the taxpayers that are paying for that facility.
Let's talk about what you guys have planned for 2020. So you can talk about the shows you have going on, but is the plan to use the elementary, was it the middle school or elementary school?
It was Spring Hill Middle School. Okay. They have a theater that it's a very large stage. It's everything that a community theater program would need. And it's just unfortunate that at the middle school level, Murray County Schools doesn't have much funding for their arts programs. Yeah. So it's really used a lot more for announcements, presentations, things like that, and not so much for theatrical stuff. And the great thing about that is by allowing community groups to use it, the school system can be bringing in a lot of additional revenue and supporting the community at the same time. So it's win-win for everybody, even to the point that they could designate some of that revenue to arts programming to try to help their students a little bit more. So, it worked out great for us, and I already have a list of dates into them for approval.
It sounds like a partnership in the making. So that's good. So let's talk about your shows then you have for 2020.
Yes. So this experience with Willy Wonka just took a lot out of all of us. So we're taking the holiday season off to let our staff rest, to let our students rest, and we're going to come back in January with auditions for The Little Mermaid, which will be the first opportunity for adults to perform in Spring Hill in 6 or 7 years, I believe. The backstory on that, the old school theater used to operate inside of the old Spring Hill High School gymnasium/auditorium, and they had a production that was running for 2 weekends, and I was not involved in the group at the time, but from what I hear, they completed their first production, and a notice about the show crossed the board of crossed the desk of somebody that was doing codes inspections, and they said, oh, well, hey, there's some place that hasn't been checked in a while, and there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 93 different types of violations that were not necessarily the theater's responsibility, but the landlord's, and so they had no choice but to padlock the building at that point in time. So several organizations, the Old School Theater, the Spring Hill Arts Center, which I was on the board of for a time, had been working for a while to get that space back up and running, but unfortunately it just was not meant to be. So so any other artists that have been in Spring Hill that want to participate in theatrical or any type of community-based arts programs are going elsewhere. And I have a list as long as my arm of Spring Hill residents that are performing at pre-professional and professional levels in Nashville, Franklin, Brentwood, anywhere in and around us, just because there are no opportunities. So we're hoping to bring some of those people home to save them the drive, and to be able to keep that talent in the community, because it's there and it is immense, and there's no reason that we shouldn't be sharing this with our community. So Little Mermaid, we're going to start. I actually will be directing that one myself. The big shows I try to handle myself just to make sure they don't go too far astray. And we'll have auditions for that January 11th at the Spring Hill Public Library. And we're looking at show dates for that in March. And then we'll be doing our next youth show will be James and the Giant Peach, which is a non-musical show. So anyone that doesn't feel comfortable with singing and dancing, that is between the ages of 4 and 18 are the ages of our students, are invited to audition for that. And show dates for that will be in early May. And then we'll do... we have a teen leadership program that has just started this season, and they support our group a lot with some of the appearances that are kind of like PR, but not necessarily a show. So like stuff like the Christmas parade or anytime well, in particular, when we did Frozen this past May, we've had a lot of people saying, hey, can you send your princesses out to us? So they'll go out on those types of things. But in exchange for being a part of the teen leadership program and helping us with those things, they are rewarded with their own show that they get to pick. They get to, cast it, direct it, all of those things. And they have not yet picked the show for this year, but then that will be in July. And our seasons run from August to July. So that gets us through the 2019-2020 season. And then we're already considering what it is that we want to do next season. So the arts are planned so far in advance. Like I have to know in January what I want to be doing in May 2021 so that I can write grants for it. And so not having consistency with a venue or community support makes those things extremely hard to secure funding, because if I can't tell people what it is I'm going to be doing with certainty, they don't want to write us a check for it.
Yeah. So speaking about support and funding, what can the community or Nashville area do if they want to help you guys out? Like what's some kind of, I know you had talked about getting some tech gear or just getting some stage props and things like that, but kind of talk about that. What do you really need from the community?
Well, any organization's always going to say liquid funding is, one of the biggest things. And yes, that is important. But our other very real concerns are real estate. We're looking for a reliable space that we can utilize for our rehearsals. And it could be, a garage attached to an office park or, a empty corner of a warehouse. We are extremely versatile. During one of our first shows, we were rehearsing in people's bonus rooms and basements. We've grown a bit more than that. So we would need something to accommodate about 30 to 40 kids. But, if people have those spaces that aren't being utilized at night or on weekends, we're open to that. We take in-kind donations, like you said, of tech gear, of things that could be used on stage, costumes, lumber. Lumber is a huge expense for us for building sets. So any types of things like that, you have contractors that have materials left over from a job that otherwise they would just be scrapping. We're happy to take those. Storage space. We actually are very fortunate that we have 2 outdoor storage spaces that we're in the process of migrating all of our stuff to in preparation for our building to be demolished, but looking for anything that we could do climate controlled for costumes, because we are starting to rent some of our costume stock. We're just trying to monetize as many assets as we have so that we can sustain things. So, and just support, talk about us. When people say, hey, where can my kids get involved in the arts? Here we are, and we're ready to help you. And not only that we're here, but you get further in the arts collaborating than competing. So what our program does may not be for every kid, but as soon as I meet those kids and I talk to those parents and we can identify what their interests are or their needs are, I'm going to help you find something that fits you. If you're more into dance, I have dance programs. If you want to focus on music, we have music teachers. If you're into a much more educational-based structure with classes, I have several programs to send to you. If you're looking for a more ministry-based program, got those covered, because I, as a teacher and as a mother, would rather send a kid away from my program and have them be happy and fulfilled than say, no, you have to stay here and do what it is that I'm doing, even if it's not the right fit for you, and have them burn out or, just decide it's not what they want to do because we're going about teaching them in the wrong way.
Let's switch gears again.
Okay.
What do you do when you're not doing theater? Or is that pretty much all you do? It may seem like it, I guess.
It does. There's really not a minute. And that's the thing about smartphones is I'm cued into what's happening with with my students and my teachers and my fellow directors and my fellow companies all the time. So I try to go to as many shows to support the kids as I can. I'm constantly looking for professional development. I'm always answering emails. I've gotten 3 emails while we've been sitting here about people like, how can I put my kids in your next show? And those are great. But really, when I'm not home, I'm researching more theater. I'm watching more theater. Yeah. I went to, I drug my poor partner Caleb to Chicago to pick up lights, and we had to squeeze in a performance of Hamilton while we were there. It was like was like a 20-hour round trip just to drive there and pick up lights. But I was like, we're going to see Hamilton.
That's a good show to see when you're there.
Yeah,
so.
We're going to see it in January again when it comes to Nashville. So yeah, kind of, and theater is a lifestyle. That's the thing that so many people, and it's a fun lifestyle. You don't have to be a performer to enjoy it. We get whole families that are involved, like, mom, dad, and all of the kids. And when I say all the kids, we have a family, 2 families in particular. One has 6 children, and at one point all 6 were in the same show, and one with 8 kids. And of those 8 kids, 7 of them are old enough to have done shows with me at one point in the time. And they're all always there. Like, dad will be building the programs. This dad will be, helping us with the heavy lifting. Moms are helping us organize things or so. So it's not, it's a family activity. And I was very fortunate to, my in-laws were actually on the founding board of directors for the Spring Hill Arts Center. And Caleb and his brother grew up in the music scene. So they understand artists and that kind of arts 24/7. It's not a predictable thing. So I have a really great support system at home, but really when I'm not doing theater, it's because I'm sleeping.
Yes, I would imagine,
sleeping or showering or eating. Those are my non-theatrical activities. So.
All right. Well, to wrap up, so you brought it up. So how would someone get their child involved, or, for these youth and adult shows you have coming up?
Sure. Well, our youth programs are open for any kids between the ages of 4 and 18. We're really inclusive. Doesn't matter what school you go to. We have kids that have different types of educational challenges on the autism spectrum, things like that. We're here for everybody. We'll find a place for you and find something that works for you to express yourself. And just watching our social media and website for audition opportunities. Once we have a more secure facility for classes, we're going to open up for classes. And our company is more than just theater. It's Midsouth Youth Theatre and Arts, but we focus so hard on the theater because that's what there was currently the most need for. So in 2020, we are working on getting some more arts-based classes lined up, some of the instructional painting sessions and crafting, some Pinterest nights for moms, where we'll have a craft opportunity for kids and moms can do a Pinterest project together, things like that. So just watching our social media for when we make those announcements. Our auditions for The Little Mermaid are January 11th, and there's contact information if you want to get involved with a production team, volunteering. Hey, if you would just like to come clean our bathrooms for us once a week, I would love to hear from you. So
what's your social media information, and what's your website?
Yes, website is midsouthyouththeatre.org, and that's theater spelled THEATRE. The RE is the art form, and the ER is the building. We don't have the building yet, but when we do, we'll change our website.
Sounds good.
Yes, and social media still Midsouth Youth Theatre and Arts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Was there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
Not in particular. Just support the arts. Doesn't have to be me, but support them somewhere.